Good evening. Welcome to the Mental Health Warriors. I'm Kai Vidal. I'm a nutrition naturopath mentor. I've been working in the industry for 2 decades now. So 20 years experience as a naturopath. I've worked in clinic, I've worked in corporate, I've worked with early childcare, and that was delivering information to parents as well. So presenting live on stages, doing seminars, doing workshops, and I really, really love and enjoy my career. Very fulfilling, helping everyone from a wide range of topics, spanning from nutrition all the way to mental health. So we'll do a little intro and then I will be back with you in a second. Good evening. So welcome back again after our lovely intro. So what we're talking about today is a lesser known, non-diagnosed mental health issue. So it's called Pyrrole, and it commonly known as Pyrrole. That's a common name, and it has a lot of common names, and it has the technical name. So it's a blood disorder where our bodies excrete more pyrroles than others. So it's estimated about 10% of the population have a higher pyrrole content. Now we'll get, it's quite a technical issue, but yet easy to understand as well. So by the end of today, you'll have a really good understanding on how you can help yourself, others, clients, friends, family. Now, what happens, we've got hydroxyhemopyrrolin 2,1. That's the scientific name. Now, the molecule is normally excreted in urine. Now, when we have an issue, with this disorder, we actually have a higher amount of pyrroles in our system. Now, it's also known as pyrroluria, cryptopyrrole, cryptopyrroluria, Mo factor, hemopyrrole, or previously even called elevated HPL. So all of those refer to the same. It's not different. They're not subcategories or different disorders. And they are interchanged as well. With the disorder, it actually affects our blood oxygen carrying molecule, and it creates an abnormal synthesis and metabolism of hemoglobin. So we get an overload of waste metabolites produced by the hemoglobins. And the good news of this is, even though it's a non-recognized mental health issues, and we'll talk about the signs and the symptoms as well, it's actually easy fix with nutritional support. Now, there's some very important tips throughout this whole segment today, and we will talk in depth on how we need to really carefully recognize this topic and how we deal with it in an appropriate manner as well. What I find is sometimes that clients can go online, and it's great to do our research and due diligence. However, it's not always the best way, because bits are missing, and you'll recognize this as I'm talking throughout this live podcast today. Now, even with our GPs, it being a non-recognized mental health issue, GPs don't often have the full picture of what's happening in the whole system nutritionally as well. So based on genetics, what's happening is And I'll explain what's happening first before we get to the signs and symptoms. So what's happening in our system is that our body, in trying to excrete this high level of pyrroles from our system, or HPL, it's actually using zinc and vitamin B6. So a lot of patients or clients or friends or family will present with irritability, little bits of anger, and it can sometimes even be confused with other mental health issues as well that are recognized. So this being non-recognized, it's really important to discuss with your doctors, and especially naturopaths, holistic GPs. There's a whole range of natural therapies, and it's really, really good to get a whole holistic viewpoint. And naturopathy, nutrition, and dietetics as well. What we do is we don't just look at a symptom that we're feeling or we've got signs. What we're doing when we present to a naturopath or holistic practitioner, we're looking at the whole body. So there's a whole wide range of symptoms that we need to move through. And we're not just looking at the symptoms themselves, we're looking long-term history, short-term history, what else is going in the system. So it's a whole body. How you're feeling emotionally. Are you feeling a little bit stressed? So the whole entire body and the whole entire system are put together as one. So it's a very, very holistic manner in how we're dealing with all conditions. And it doesn't matter whether it's Pyrrole, and it doesn't matter whether we have a whole host of symptoms that are going along. And a lot of what you'll find with HPL or Pyrrole is that it's causing other symptoms in the body. So when we're burning our zinc and vitamin B6 at a higher rate, we're actually creating other symptoms in the body. So we need zinc for our immune system. We need zinc for growth and repair. There is so many different viewpoints of all these nutrients, and they all work hand in hand synergistically together. So it's really important that we're not self-diagnosing, that even today, even after you've learned the ins and outs of what's happening in the system, that we don't run to the chemist or the pharmacy and get nutrients, because that can have an actual negative effect in treating ourselves. And you'll understand by the end. So with the signs and symptoms, so the symptoms that we can feel, I've got a few messages too. So thank you for joining, Robert. It's great to see you. Hi, Adam, as well. Please write your questions in the box below, and that will be perfect. So yeah, we'll be explaining that as we go along too. So thank you for your comments. Now, with the symptoms that we can feel, symptoms is different from signs. Signs is something that you can see, like, you can physically see something. So that could be a rash or, a cut, a bruise. That is a sign. Now, a symptom is something that we feel. The symptoms of Pyrrole or HPL quite often is that we feel agitated. We feel easily agitated. We're not quite too sure what has triggered us sometimes. Sometimes we know that we're triggered, but we don't feel that we have control. So I've had a lot of clients that have come in and just like, everything's making me angry. I don't know why. I'm fine one moment, and then the next I have completely changed, and I don't know what come over me. That's the most common symptom that is explained. Now, quite often, even children, because this is a genetic disorder and it affects our nutrient status within the body, children can also suffer from this too. So it's really important that with our kids and with adults, ourselves and family and teenagers, that we also are looking at things alternatively. And as I said, not all GPs have a handle on this whole set of symptoms. So it's also good to really, really have a thorough look. And there's tests as well. So I will be talking to you about the tests. Now, I have a question, and it's a really good one. So I'll read this out so we can all share. Do you think our subconscious mindset goes towards the symptom rather than the sign? And do you think the word symptom could be a trigger to some people? Good question. Thank you for sharing that. Subconscious mindset goes towards the symptoms. This actually isn't controlled by the subconscious. This is actually a physical condition because it's a genetic condition, and it is affecting our blood genesis. So the actual production of blood within the body is negatively affected. So this is actually a physical biochemical reaction in our bodies. So we can actually, where the subconscious comes into it, is that we can be aware. Once we're aware of things, we can go, right, I'm having a Pyrrole day today. I'm feeling the symptoms of elevated Pyrrole today. So it's actually not subconscious. It's not created by our subconscious. The word symptom could be a trigger to some people. Yes and no. If it is a trigger, I'd have a chat. I would jump in and make contact with the mental health warriors, myself, any really good counselors, psychologists, even helplines. If the word symptom is a trigger, we need to have a chat. And that's done in all confidentiality as well. The word symptom, you'll be even asked when you see a GP. So what symptoms are you feeling? What signs do you have? So if it is triggered, you can ask people to use a different word if that's what you'd prefer. But I'd be having a chat, what's behind that? See, that is a subconscious. That is a subconscious control. So with what we'll be feeling when we're triggered is anxiety, stress, moods, jumping from one mood to another. And then 1 minute we're okay, the next minute we feel flighty. You can actually have physical shaking. There's so many different disorders. And that's why if there is ever a feeling, it's good to reach out and have a chat, especially with a naturopath, nutritionist, because we take a whole client history and there's a lot of information that goes behind this. It could be another set of signs and symptoms, but there's a lot more to every condition. So some conditions overlap. They look like sister conditions. So it's a really good idea that we always go and seek professional help. There's no substitute for professional help for no matter what we're feeling at any time in our system. So really good to go and check it out, have our blood pressure checked, have our blood work done. Now, with Pyrrole and the HPL, the signs that we can see, especially in early childhood, is eczema, rashes. What we can see in the system is a high level of bruising, the white dots on fingernails. That's quite often relating to zinc deficiency. You will see quite often is tonsils that are enlarged constantly. And that's because the immune system, with the depletion of zinc, the immune system is going into overdrive all the time. Now, what also happens with increased HPL is our zinc is low, our vitamin B6 is low, copper is high. Now, that doesn't mean that we run out and just go and start taking zinc and B6. When we take a B vitamin in isolation without all the other B vitamins, we can also create a deficiency in the other B vitamins. So it's always good to have a balance of everything in life. And what we find with foods that we eat in nature, like foods that are high in our zinc, like you've got your oysters and your seafood and your shellfish and your whole grains, Now, they're intricately balanced with all the nutrients that we use. They're synergistically balanced perfectly. Now, when we go and start taking supplements, we can actually put our own gut biome and our own nutrient way out of balance. So it's really important that we always create the balance in our life. Now, the next thing is, after the zinc to copper ratio, to look at. Now, when we get our tests, so there is tests, there's a HPL test. You also need to test your zinc status, your B vitamins, and your copper. Now, when we receive the results back from pathology, we don't just look at the results, because you could be subclinical, which doesn't really pick up in the pathology. So what we look at is the ratio of our zinc to our copper to our B vitamins. Biotin can also be low, and magnesium and manganese. And we need to look at that as a whole holistic picture as well. Like, how are they interacting with each other? In biochemistry, our nutrients and our minerals that have the same molecular weight also compete for absorption in the body. So quite commonly, your calcium, magnesium, and iron. That's really, really important to get those into a nice, neat balance. Now, also what we can look at, and the HPL has a negative effect, is our essential fatty acids too. So our omega-6, our omega-3, with this disorder, they're not easily absorbed by the body. And this is how it contributes to weight gain too. There's so many different types of signs or symptoms or conditions that contribute to weight gain. This is just one. So what is this also doing to our mental health, people ask, is that our essential fatty acids act as, and along with all the nutrients, your zinc, your B6, and your copper, are neurotransmitters. So they're helping send messages from your brain throughout your whole body. So this is actually having an impact on our nervous system. When our nervous system is agitated and irritated, that's going to increase the symptoms. And there's also been a recent study too. There's not a lot of studies out this because this is non-pharmaceutical. You can't treat this with drugs. So there's not a lot of studies that have been published, but there is one that actually alludes to the fact that when everything is out of balance in these symptoms, people are being misdiagnosed. So quite frequently, they're misdiagnosed with schizophrenia, ADHD, the autism spectrum. So it's really important to have a really big holistic viewpoint. And this is why it's essential to have a chat with the mental health warriors. They can steer you in the right direction. Get in touch with a good practitioner. Not all GPs are across all of this. They might be aware of the zinc and the B6, but not all the other smaller nutrient deficiency that goes hand in hand. Now, when we have clients and it's suspected, the best thing to do is go through our client checklist with them too. So we're checking the gut function, we're checking our bowel function, we're checking our nervous system. Sleep is quite often affected. That's also going to have an impact on our quality of mental health as well. So it's really important, and I can't stress enough, A, to speak with your natural health practitioner, B, have a holistic viewpoint, and C, is to always look at everything holistically, because it's all, and even our gut biome. So being low in zinc affects our status of our friendly bacteria, your prebiotics and your probiotics. Now, also, we could reverse engineer the condition too. So when we are deficient in our gut biome, deficient in these nutrients, it can also make it look and appear like you have HPL. And that's the reverse of it. But once the nutrients are back into the system, once the deficiencies are balanced back out, then the symptoms drop. So there is, and that's quite different. So being nutrient deficient is actually different from having the genetic component where we're not actually, where we've got elevated HPLs, and that's the byproduct of the genetic condition. So the proper testing is going to sort out whether it's the horse before the cart or the cart before the horse. And that's important. Now, I've got a few more questions. I was put, believe in yourself, which sounds fabulous. I was put in touch with a nutritionist by my GP, which did help a great deal. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm so glad you have a fabulous GP. I'm really glad that your GP is working hand in hand together with a nutritionist. GPs do fantastic work, and working hand in hand together, that's when you're going to get your greatest results. And I love that. I love GPs who work in hand. So good on you, and great share. Keep on sharing, please. And then there's another question. Becoming aware of omega-3 and 6 did change my life forever. Yes, thank you. So quite often with the elevated HPLs, our actual level, our absorption is diminished for gathering and absorbing and utilizing our omega-3s and 6 as well. So that's why it's really important to go through, and that's where you'll see a lot of the skin conditions too. So if you're feeling the anxiousness, the irritation, plus you have a skin condition, that's where it could be an indication that definitely you're having that's where it's playing a role with your absorption of the omega-3 and the omega-6s too. Now, your zinc and B6 are essential for the production of neurotransmitters as well. So that's important for serotonin. Now, serotonin is a mood regulator in our bodies as well. So serotonin is really important. Now, without our zinc and B6, we're not producing the serotonin in the levels. So sometimes you could take a serotonin supplement and not feel like it's having an effect. That's because your zinc and your B6 is low as well. So this is where we need a synergistic effect and taking the nutrients at the right time. So that comes in for, like, without healing the gut, it has an effect on our nutrient status too. Now, another neurotransmitter is melatonin. Melatonin is related to our sleep. Without sleep, our bodies aren't doing the growth and repair. It's really important in HPL that we have our good quality sleep. Very, very essential. Now, Gaba, that's another neurotransmitter needed for relaxation in our system. So zinc and B6 is needed again. Acetylcholine for our memory. Memory loss can also be another symptom of it. Now, cortisol as well. That's an anti-inflammatory, anti-allergy, and it's also a hormone that helps reduce stress and our anxiety. And your zinc and B6 is also needed for the conversion of oils in our body, our good healthy fats, so your omega-3s. So now once you go through the symptoms and you're hearing and seeing how everything is going hand in hand together. Also, zinc and B6, as mentioned, we need that for our gut biome too. Now, one more question I have here. So your go-to is ice cream. Ice cream is a temporary fix. So although your sugar is going to give you a sugar rush and a sugar high, not the best recommended way to boost our systems and energy back up. The sugars in there and the dairy is going to have a negative impact on our gut biome, especially with these nutrient deficiency disorders. So once we boost our system back up with our nutrients that we need, we've seen our pathology, we have a plan, I've seen with clients, their results change. It can change anywhere from 1 week to 3 months. And that's where it's acute or chronic. Now, acute means that it's been around short term. Chronic means long term. So chronic is someone that's probably had it since childhood or even since their adolescence, and they've had it for quite a few years. Acute can be triggered by all sorts of conditions: pregnancy, traumatic event, having a really serious cold or flu. There has been COVID around. When we're actually sick and our immune systems are in overdrive, that can contribute as well and trigger just a genetic switch. So if we're ever feeling something different within ourselves, really important to get on top of things straight away, not just think, oh, I'll see how I'm feeling in a few weeks, or I'll see how I'm feeling in a month. It's always really good to, as soon as we've noticed a change in the symptom, to quickly have a chat with our GP that goes hand in hand together with our nutritionist, naturopath. And that's really going to prevent it from becoming a chronic long term. See, when we treat ourselves in acute stage, we have fairly fast results. Once we go into chronic, they say for every year that you have a symptom or feeling the condition, seeing the signs, it's 1 month of treatment for every year. So the quicker that we get on top of what we're feeling within our bodies, whether it's internal or external, what we are feeling, it's great to move forward. Now, someone said, I'm under no illusions about ice cream. It's about enjoying it in an unlimited manner. Often it's once a month, but it can happen more often. It's the golden rule for treats. It's sometimes food. Right? We enjoy our treats in small doses, not on a regular basis. So the longer we can, and there's better options. So sometimes treating can be okay, but it's how frequently we're doing it. It's the quality of our treat. If you're having a good quality dark chocolate that's not loaded with sugars and artificial flavors, colorings, additives, preservatives, you could have something like that once a week, a good quality. It's looking at our mindset and thinking, what's the emotion behind why we want a particular food? So there's always that to look into. And does it make you feel good? If it doesn't change how you're feeling, and as long as there's no guilt, if you eat something and you feel guilt, we need to have a chat. If you eat something and you're not guilting your system, it's the guilt that causes the stress in your body. It's not the other way around. So when we eat something with a free, open mind and we enjoy it and we love it and we're not putting shame or guilt into our body emotionally along with the food, it's fine. But it all just comes down to how holistically are we behaving? Are we eating something because we're trying to fill a void or trying to feel a feeling? Are we trying to escape by eating something? That's when we need to have a chat. But if we're doing it with good intentions and we're loving it and we're enjoying it thoroughly, we don't need to have a chat. And as long as you're healthy, as long as it's all balanced. Now, another question. I am fairly trim. Waking up some muscle mass would do me wonders. So waking up, so maybe that means just making up some muscle mass would also do wonders. Yes, absolutely. Now with our zinc, what's also happening in HPL, because our zinc is lowered, that affects our protein. utilization and absorption in the body. So protein is for all healthy growth and repair in our bodies. So definitely when we're balanced our zinc and we're having good quality proteins as well. So proteins, all food has a component of protein in it, and we're looking at our macros. Now with your protein, I would also, and especially if you have the HPL symptoms, I'd make sure that you're having your pre and probiotics. I'd have really digestive. So bitters. Bitters are amazing digestives for your system, and that helps to break down our proteins and utilize them effectively for the system too. So that's not just your meat. Proteins is all animal products, which I would definitely have in this instance from your clean, organic and free range sources. And that's for a really good reason. And it's really important with that. The importance of it is with HPL, because we're always needing more zinc to help break down all of our detoxification methods, which we need every single day on repeat in good quality. Because we're breaking down everything, we need a higher level to break down our proteins too. So your protein sources, also look at your beans, your lentils, nuts, legumes, really good quality plant sources as well. Really important. I've seen vegan bodybuilders too. Purely vegan bodybuilders can achieve amazing results too and go very far with it. So it's not necessarily what type of protein you're having, it's a quality of protein and also what's happening throughout your whole system. So as long as your digestion and utilization is up to scratch and we're absorbing our healthy fats, which is an important part as well, all goes hand in hand together. Now, another question. Flight or fight is where I'm at much of the time. And guilt? No, not even a tiny amount of guilt. That's beautiful. I love that. No guilt. Never. Avoid the guilt. I would have preferred not to have my rotator cuff blow, but it did. Okay. That's a big question, actually. There's different components on that. Flight or fight. So when we're in flight or fight, that's your adrenaline and your adrenal system. So your adrenals are being activated in flight or fight. May I ask, and there's another question and I'll get to that. So may I ask, and if you can write it in the chat, with your flight or fight, explain more to me. Tell me about that. I'm curious. Is there anything that is triggering that, or you're just feeling like that on a regular basis? So if you can clarify that for me, that would be great. But definitely that's one of the prime symptoms of your Pyrrole. So once we go into balancing back out the system, as I said, you definitely need the nutritionals. You need your pathology done to discover what nutrients you need at what time as well. I'm glad you don't have guilt. So, and then rotator cuff. Yeah. So, I would need to ask more questions about that too. But what that sort of tells me too, I'd be asking a question about your utilization and absorption of your omega-3s and 6s. Also a great nutrient for our musculoskeletal system is your glucosamine and chondroitin, MSN. So, but feel free to reach out to me about that too. When you said bitters, I thought Cosmo. I'm not sure what you mean by Cosmo, but that's okay. When I say bitters, it's digestive. So you'll see herbs that are really bitter. Your vinegar, apple cider vinegar before we eat, you can use that as a bitter effect. And that just helps prime our digestive system. So anything bitter, like your dandelion leaves, your bitter lettuces, things like that, really good. Your radish, and that really helps to get the enzymes going that we need to break down our proteins too. It has been going on for so long. This is another question. It has been going on for so long that I don't think about it. Just a general sense of unease. Okay. This is where we definitely, thank you for sharing. I really appreciate this. And this is the prime example where we need the pathology. How many years? Okay, there's another question. So you had a relationship breakdown and present of their respective employers. Okay. So yeah, there's been a breakdown of your, I'll share in brief with the audience so we all understand what's happening. So you've had a relationship breakdown and there's been some stress, and thank you for sharing that again. The elevated stress and the trauma, that's where, I understand that's hard, and it's hard, just like, it's not just something that's just easy to walk away from. So you're definitely going to need some support. And I'd also add in there, you definitely need your pathology. You need a plan. You need qualified people to design the plan for you that's going to suit your system. And I would also be putting in some really good supportive adaptogen herbs in there too. Oats is really good. I'd look at your ashwagandha, even your chamomile, passion flower, even skullcap. But I would be doing a full case history, definitely a full case history. Reach out to me because there's some questionnaires that I can send through too, and that goes for anyone. If you'd like a questionnaire, reach out, write in the chat, and we can either find you or find the mental health warriors or myself on Facebook. We're also on Instagram, YouTube. So there's various channels where you can reach out. And we've got questionnaires. So we've got questionnaires specifically about the Pyrrole. We've got questionnaires about your nervous system. We've got questionnaires about stress and anxiety. We've got whole body questionnaires. And that's really good, as I said, to work holistically. So yeah. Okay. So there's another question. So yeah, I'm sorry you experienced that. So I've got a question in the comments, like, when there's been a trauma and then it comes as a shock as well. So what it is repeating a small trauma on top of a trauma. So I'm sorry you have experienced that. And with you sharing, that's opening up this modality for everyone to realize these and this is a classic signs and feelings of what comes through with trauma. So as I said, this can be genetic. It can be a nutritional deficiency. And in saying the nutritional deficiency too, our soils are deficient in zinc too. So it's really important that we're looking after our vitamins and minerals. Now, traumas can trigger this. Absolutely. The traumas. So I would be working on yourself. And the difficult things with trauma is, and why we're sorry that you've been dealing with this, is that you can't control other people. We can do our best. We can protect ourselves, and that's fine. But as far as any form of control, that's when we need to let go. We need to let go. We can't control others, but what we can do is control ourselves and get the support that we need. And that's available for everyone. We all have the ability within ourselves, deep down, to heal ourselves, to move forward, and also reach out for support, because there's so many people that would be wanting to help too. Now, another question. Most of my support is what comes back from what I do. I've been called the comment king, and that is accurate. I love to love on people, especially friends I've met and friends I haven't met yet. Well, that's lovely. Thanks for the share. That's perfect. And another question. To control another is way too much like work that never offers a good return. That's perfectly. Exactly. We cannot control others. So we can control ourselves. We can control how we manage what we're feeling. We can control how we're experiencing a situation. We can have help and support through the issues too. And thanks for the share. And as I said, traumas definitely play an impact on our body. And when we're in stress and flight and fight, we're exhausting our nutrients in our body. Our body goes into overdrive. So we're constantly having to need and replenish all the nutrients that we're feeling inside. So some really deep and meaningful shares here. And I thank you all. It's very brave and insightful and helpful to all the listeners here. Now, with the HPL, a deficiency can cause a rise in our blood sugar levels too. So this can have an impact on diabetes, whether it's type 1 or type 2. And it also can cause a whole lot of pre-diabetic and metabolic symptoms as well. So once it's had an effect on our blood sugar levels, what we find is that people also have appetite control issues. This is going into the circular pattern of our weight gain as well. So sleeplessness, constipation, diarrhea, even nervous twitching. So our zinc, going back to our zinc again, is vital for our concentration, memory, really important detoxification of our whole entire system. When we're not detoxing, as I said, we've got a build up of all sorts of byproducts that our body doesn't need and can't utilize. So detoxification on a daily basis is really important. Zinc is needed for our proper digestion. And when we're lacking in zinc, that can also lead to conditions like anorexia, leaky gut syndrome, digestive diseases as well, like your IBS, Crohn's, SOFA. So the list goes on. And this is why it's really important to have a holistic view of our whole symptoms. So sometimes what we're feeling in our minds, emotionally, mentally, spiritually even, we could feel just agitated. That can be created by a trauma, as lovely people have been sharing with us today. It can be a byproduct of a nutrient deficiency as well. It can be caused, this is mainly genetic, and the traumas, emotional states, disease conditions, even natural conditions of the body like pregnancy. This can trigger our genes of something that we've never experienced or felt in our life, can be a trigger for this to happen. Now, as we said, it is easy to go through this syndrome. It's a non-recognized mental health condition. Is easy to manage the symptoms with the right help and support, the right pathology, and we can move forward. It is a condition that needs lifelong monitoring and quite often the nutritional support as well. But once you have it down packed, in the beginning when we're deficient, we need a high level to bring our nutrient levels up to where they should be. But after a while, it's usually reduced over time and we go into maintenance doses as well. So there's no need to panic. And what we find is we're treating the client from the start to the beginning to the end, is that it can often go from needing nutritionals to a specific diet, and it can be achieved with our diets as well, which is it's a really beautiful way. So instead of needing a whole bunch of unnecessary vitamins and minerals. Now, also what I want to stress too, when we do our testing, so we're getting our pathology organized, I would highly recommend that you stop taking all supplements. And when I say supplements, that's vitamins and minerals, nothing from a doctor. So if you're prescribed by your doctor, you need to stay on any heart, blood pressure, or mental health prescriptions. Now, your vitamins and minerals, I would stop taking any zinc, B6, your magnesium, biotin, even your essential fatty acids. I would stop taking at least 7 days beforehand. Now, when you're taking the vitamins, that's going to mask any deficiencies that are in the symptoms, and it's going to mask what's actually truly going on metabolically within your body too. So it's really important that this is why we do our due diligence and we educate ourselves, but we also work with a practitioner that has a full grip and grasp and understanding of the issues too. Now, here's another question too. I'm at the stage where I need to move forward from serving those who inspire me. It will involve a return to live streaming. Okay. That sounds fabulous. You're serving yourself and choosing yourself and putting yourself first. That's very important. Now, the next question. I love to go deep when in a desired state of tranquility. I enjoy visualizing the molecules of my car being refreshed in position with added vitality as I drive down the road. Well, that's metaphorically, you can apply that to your body as well. So when you're visualizing your body in molecules, because we're made out of energy and atoms, the same thing. That's exactly what's happening in our system. Then last question that has come through. Only meds for depression, just flaxseed oil is the only supplement. It does take the edge off hunger sensations. Absolutely. That's because our essential fatty acids play a role in satisfaction as well. And it's actually lining not just every single cell in our body we need our essential fatty acids for, but it's lining the gastrointestinal system too. So if we just imagine if you had like a dried out bowels, it wouldn't feel too pleasant to go to the toilet. So essential fatty acids is very important, and it helps with feeling full as well, helps with subtle skin, helps with our nervous system. It is a modulator. It goes around the outside of all of our nutrients. Okay, there is another question. It ended my extreme hunger pains forever. That's fabulous. Your essential fatty acids. So yeah, there's a lot at play and a lot of synergistic effect with all of our nutrients. And now to wrap up today, any more questions, they'll be answered via private inbox from this point forward. So I thank you all. Thank you for sharing. It's beautiful and I love it. Now to wrap up today, this is just one of many mental health conditions. This is a non-recognized. Your signs and symptoms are things that you can see and feel throughout your body. Always have a chat. Always reach out. There is a host of people that can guide you in the right direction. There's so much help and support available to you now. And it's just a matter of getting the right pathology with the right practitioner and designing a plan forward. And a lot of our feelings can be managed for the future and giving you peace of mind that there's always a solution for everything. And the body is designed to heal itself. So giving yourself the right nutrients at the right time, in the right sequence, in the right state and right form, is vital to your healing. So I thank everyone for tuning in today. There will be another episode in a fortnight, 2 weeks. And I look forward to all your beautiful support and questions. And please share too. We're more than happy. We're approachable. We're all here to help the mental health warriors, myself, Kai Vidal, naturopath nutritionist. And we can even, if there's something that we haven't spoken about, it's likely that we've had questions in clinic about these before. And we know a whole team, a variety of people that are willing to help and support each other. So I thank you for your attention. Good evening. We'll be tuning back in 2 weeks, and take care.